Before the Union Jack flew over Lagos, before the British called our waters their own, before the treaties were signed in ink that means nothing, there was a king who said, "This land is not for sale." His name was Kosoko, son of Oba Osinlokun, grandson of Oba Akinsemoyin, heir to a throne that his enemy tried to steal. They called him a warrior, they called him a rebel, they called him a slave trader, but I am a son of the soil, and I call him what his people called him, the lion who refused to bow. Kosoko was born into a house at war with itself. His father, Osinlokun, had been passed over for the throne. His uncle, Idewu Ojulari, took the crown but died young. His cousin, Oluwole, became king and ruled with cruelty. But the Lagos throne was never settled. It was a seat fought over by families, by factions, by merchants who measured power in cowries. Kosoko watched. He learned. He waited. When Oluwole was killed in a lightning strike that shattered his palace, the elders looked to Kosoko, but the British had arrived and they had other plans. In 1841, Kosoko was passed over. The British supported his rival, Akintoye, a man they believed they could control. Kosoko did not accept this. He raised his warriors. He gathered his allies, and in 1845 he drove Akintoye from Lagos into exile. Now he sat on the throne that was rightfully his, but his enemies did not rest. Akintoye went to Badagry, then to Abeokuta, then to the British, begging for their guns, and the British saw an opportunity. On December 26, 1851, British warships appeared off the coast of Lagos. They called it the reduction of Lagos. The people of Lagos called it betrayal. HMS Samson, HMS Bloodhound, HMS Teaser, they opened fire. For 3 days, the bombardment continued. Kosoko's palace was destroyed. His warriors fought in the streets. Women and children fled into the bush, but the British did not come to conquer. They came to install a king who would sign their treaties. They came to end the slave trade, or so they said, and they came to place Akintoye back on the throne. Kosoko watched his city burn. Then he did what lions do when they hunt is unfair. He retreated. Kosoko fled to Ekpe, a lagoon town east of Lagos. He did not go as a beggar. He went as a king, waiting for his return. In Ekpe, he rebuilt, he ruled, he traded, he waited. His people followed him. His warriors stayed loyal. For 10 years, he watched Lagos change. The British lightened their grip. Akintoye died, poisoned, some say. His son, Dosunmu, became the British puppet, and Kosoko waited. In 1862, the British formally declared Lagos a colony, but Kosoko had not forgotten his people, and his people had not forgotten him. Negotiations began. The British wanted his submission, Kosoko wanted his dignity. In 1863, an agreement was reached. Kosoko would return to Lagos, not as king, that throne was gone, but as a chief, as a merchant, as a man who had never bowed. The British gave him a pension. They gave him land on Lagos Island. They call it Olowogbowo, and Kosoko returned to the city he had built. Kosoko did not die in exile. He did not die forgotten. He returned to Lagos, built his house, traded his goods, and watched his children rise. His daughter, Opoolu, became a powerful figure in her own right. His descendants still walk the streets of Lagos today. When he died in 1872, the British had already won. Lagos was their colony. The slave trade they claimed to hate had been replaced by the palm oil trade they controlled. But Kosoko had done something the British never forgave. He had resisted, he had fought, he had made them bring warships to take what he would not give. Today, if you walk through Olowogbowo in Lagos Island, you will find the streets named for his family. You will hear the stories whispered by herders. They will tell you about the king who said no, the king who fought when others submitted, the king who lost his throne but never lost his pride. They called him a slave trader. And yes, he traded human beings, as many did in that time. We do not hide from this truth. But he also traded in something rarer, sovereignty. He understood what the British were taking, not just land, not just trade, but the right of a Yoruba king to sit on his father's stool without asking permission from men across the ocean. Kosoko lost that fight, but the fight itself was not lost. Every Nigerian who says this land is ours walks in his footsteps. Every leader who refuses to bow walks in his footsteps. Every child who asks why our history was written by strangers walks in his footsteps. The British took Lagos. They never took Kosoko. The soil remembers. And on Lagos Island, the soil still whispers his name. If Kosoko's fire stirred something in your chest, if you felt the weight of a king who refused to bow, then you are part of the remembering. I am a son of the soil. Babalomu Yoruba Stories walks where the ancestors walked. Subscribe so you do not miss the next story of resistance. Share this with someone who needs to know that Lagos was not built by colonizers. And comment below. Was Kosoko a hero, a rebel, or a man caught between words? What does it mean to refuse to bow when the world tells you to kneel? The drums will call you again. Walk well until then.